I don't dislike it. I know that there's got a lot of people that hate on Performance Max, but I quite like it. It does a good job. If you put good stuff in, you tend to get good stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the data that you provide, and if you're providing a good feed, good offline conversion tracking all your phone calls, all that type of stuff, then you can see quite good results from Performance Max. Obviously, you need to be checking and analysing the performance. Are you spending money in areas that just don't get you any results?
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the PPC Chat Roundup. Excited for this episode especially because we are interviewing the wonderful Matt Beswick for our 311th episode of the PPC Chat Roundup. Matt, personally met him on our PPC Live community, and it has been really great to see how he's really helped a lot of people and really engaged with all the different experts in there, especially on our WhatsApp community. Matt is a long-term expert. He's worked client side, agencies, as well, both sides. And just adds a lot of value, I feel, not just in our group, but on LinkedIn as well. So please give Matt a warm welcome. Please, Matt, welcome to this episode.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries. So before we start off, could you just please give us a quick who you are and what do you do?
Yes, obviously, I'm Matt Beswick. I work in-house at a company called Quality Bearings Online as PPC manager, looking after all paid media, so Google, Microsoft, a little bit of programmatic, social. So the full scale of the PPC work pretty much all lies on my shoulders.
Yeah.
We're mainly selling to Northern American markets, so a lot of export type stuff. So it's a bit different to quite a lot of the normal work that I've done in the past, where it's all been dealing with mainly American markets.
Okay, all right, that's very cool. And how did you get into client side? Because looking at your profile, I feel like you started a bit on client side and then did some agency and done clients. You've done a mix of both, but how come that you got into client side and that's your bread and butter right now?
So I started client side like 15, 16 years ago. I worked for a lighting company. I set up their website for them, grew that to nearly £7 million in sales, but predominantly through paid search. So I knew I had quite a skill in paid search. And then in pandemic, I got made redundant from there. So I went agency side.
Yeah, okay.
And then I got back client side. I freelanced for the company that I work for now. I used to look after their search ads. So they asked me to come back. I've known the owners for similar amount of time that I'd worked at my first job. We used to work in the same building. So it's almost gone like full circle back to the very start, but for another company that I supported when they launched in their early days.
Okay, cool. And that stint at agency side was quite short. Did you just not like the agency lifestyle?
No, I loved working for an agency. I did about 3 years there altogether, but I live in Leeds and they were in Sheffield. So they had all the perks of an agency, great culture, great office environment, flexi time, like remote working 3 days a week.
Nice.
I had a child just before, and when she was getting a bit older, I was spending, although I was only in the office for 2 days, I was spending like 4 or 5 hours a week driving. So moving back to Leeds, I just do 10 minutes to work, 10 minutes home, and I can get back to see my little girl. So it was nothing to do with agency work. I loved working for an agency. I just got an opportunity to come and work back in-house. And the company that I work now are a really good employer. So a nice place to work and for me to continue my development.
Amazing. That's such a great stars aligned, I feel, because a lot of people are finding it difficult to merge that, especially like post-COVID. They got used to working remotely, and now just that commuting time is non-negotiable. If it's a long commuting time, people are turning down jobs because of that, because you have family priorities and people have really increased that value in their life of, look, I can't be spending hours on a commute when, I could be closer to home or even working remotely and do my job just as well sometimes, right?
Yeah, definitely. We work in our office 5 days a week, but so we can still get that like team feel. But obviously, I've got more of a routine now. When you used to work flexi time, you could start work at 10 o'clock in the morning and finish at 6 o'clock at night. But now I know And my little girl knows that
Yeah.
I start work at 8:30 and I'll be home at about 5:10.
Nice. That's lovely. Yeah. Once you have a child, you have two bosses. It's not just the boss at work. It's the bosses at home that you have to really answer to now, which is nice. Oh, I know we could spend like the whole episode talking about flexi work and the importance of commuting and the different ways of working. But no, let's get into some really up-to-date PPC topics that I'm sure all our listeners want to hear about. So and before we get to my next question, are you? What's your PPC team like at your company?
Just me.
It's just you. You are big PPC.
It's all responsibility.
Yeah. How's that like? How does it help? How do you help to keep up to date, making sure that you're getting help from where you need it?
Obviously, there's perks and there's downsides of being the only person, but I think the biggest stumbling block is keeping up to date with everything.
Right.
So obviously being part of PPC Live, seeing the conversations that are going on in there. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, see what other people are doing. Quite often I'll learn more from seeing other people's problems and seeing the discussions that go on around their problems. And then next time, if I ever come to face that, then I already know how to fix it. And then obviously keep up to date on all the websites, search engine land, those types of things, just to make sure that any updates that I'm not missing, and we can make sure that we stay in front of the competition. But obviously the good things are anytime there's any success, then it's almost entirely down to my work.
I love it. And you can't always just even make it look like you did something and not actually Google started behaving. Almost. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So going into more specific questions about different campaign types that you use to uplift your guys. Your company are B2B, is that right, you said?
Yeah, so we sell bearings to B2B market, yeah.
Okay, and what campaign type would you say that was the best for you guys?
It's mainly e-commerce type stuff that we're doing. A lot of performance maps, a lot of standard shopping. I tend to use the two alongside each other at the moment, using Performance Max for its benefits in terms of like dynamic remarketing, hammering existing customers, and then I try and use shopping for any incremental revenue that we can find. So we're using those two alongside each other after the change in with Performance Max no longer taking preference over standard shopping. We thought that we would test running those two alongside each other, and so far it's worked quite nicely.
Okay. How have you found, like, how long have you guys been using Performance Max? Since the beginning started, or is it something more recently?
I'm usually an early adopter with anything that Google bring out because I like to get in front. At some point, everyone's got to use them. So I try to adopt them as soon as I can. When I first started working here, they used to use an agency that was all standard shopping.
Okay.
So as soon as I came in, I switched all that out for purely Performance Max. We saw quite a big increase. But now with these new changes, we're introducing a little element of standard shopping as well.
All right, fantastic. And how have you found Performance Max? Like, looking, if you were to give an analysis of how Performance Max has evolved over time, what would be your feedback to people who are thinking about using Performance Max?
I don't dislike it. I know that there's got a lot of people that hate on Performance Max, but I quite like it. It does a good job. If you put good stuff in, you tend to get good stuff out. So it's all about the data that you provide, and if you're providing a good feed, good offline conversion tracking all your phone calls, all that type of stuff, then you can see quite a good results from Performance Max. Obviously, you need to be checking and analysing the performance. Are you spending money in areas that just don't get you any results? But I think from using it, I think it's nearly 3-4 years now. It's probably been live. Obviously, using it for that long, you start to work out some of the little tricks that you might be able to do to manipulate its performance slightly. So I tend to try and keep it so it's almost limited by budget rather than letting it have as much budget as it possibly wants. I always find, this might just be me, but I always find when it's limited by budget, it usually performs over its ROAS targets. Whereas if you give it as much budget as you possibly can, they'll spend it, and it'll probably come just underneath ROAS targets. So we can usually get like a better ROI from managing that spend closely.
Okay, interesting.
stopping it spend on video.
Yeah, okay. You don't like the idea of spending on video.
Obviously, I'm in-house, so creating video assets is difficult, and the auto-generated ones from Google. We've got a really strong brand,
Yeah.
so anything that Google auto-generates for us is just way off brand in terms of the tone, the message, how it looks.
Okay.
So I tend to try and force it not to spend in those areas.
Oh, wow. But do you know of the update that with Performance Max? Because over the past few years, I feel that Google they brought out a product that was still in production, is how I feel Performance Max has been released. It's been like, yes, here's Performance Max, but this is a very incomplete product yet. And then every new year is, new updates. And I know one of the updates was to have brand guidelines specifically for creating Performance Max assets. Have you just still not found those kind of updates has been useful in creating videos?
Not really. They end up being like a slideshow type video where it goes through your brand, like your headlines and your descriptions and some of the image assets that you've got in there, and it rotates slowly around these things that look like a really poorly created Google spreadsheet thing. So it's just not something that I tend to use. We are looking to create some videos soon and probably get more into some other campaign types like demand gen. But at the moment, obviously the restrictions are working in-house. We've not really got the skills to create those videos yet. So it's something that we get the good enough results from the shopping side of things and the search. So we really focus our efforts on those to start with.
Yeah, of course. And even talking about some of the other updates, have you seen the article of like the 2025 updates for Performance Max?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, let us have it up. They are going to be doing stuff around search term reports, giving a bit more insight into that one. We are going to get, asset group reporting as well, more insight in that one.
I have seen. I've seen. Yeah, I think all these updates help, but a lot of them, they always go too far on the Google-friendly ones and not far enough on the advertiser-friendly ones. So when you look at something like negative keywords, campaign level negative keywords, we've been asking for 4 years for campaign level negative keywords. And when it comes out, we get 100 keywords per campaign. If you're spending £200 a day on a Performance Max campaign, you're going to run out of your 100 list within 1 or 2 days, probably.
Really?
Whereas obviously when we got Performance Max thrusted upon us, we get rolled out in full. All your smart shopping campaigns got changed overnight. No access to any insights. So when it's Google friendly, they go really all into it. But when it's advertiser friendly, we get 100 keywords. The search theme stuff doesn't seem to go far enough. We can't see exactly what search keywords have been coming through. If they were as good at forcing through the updates that were advertiser friendly as they are their ones, and I think we might be a little bit happier as advertisers. But
so the updates are still very much in favor of what would work better for Google and what they will still be able to prevent.
I guess they're trying to keep it as much as a black box as possible while giving something back to people who are spending money through their platforms. But it just never feels like it's quite. And I've been working in PPC for 15 years, so I remember when we used to see every search query, every single conversion, where it had come from, how much every single one had cost. Whereas obviously you have to change that thinking a little bit. But anything where we could get more insights would just be a real benefit, I think. Particularly working in-house where every pound that you spend matters. I know it matters when you're at an agency, but you don't feel it as much if this is bonus. It's not felt by you as an agency, whereas obviously working in-house, you want to make sure every pound is spent in the best way.
No, absolutely. Now, like, not completely different kind of area. Performance Max is very much Google's AI campaign type. But like in terms of just using AI in general, would you say is pretty much Performance Max is the most that you guys use this. Is there anything that AI has affected your work process, how you do things, what you create, the speed of the tasks that you do? Can you just give us a bit of information of how you use your AI in your day-to-day work?
It's speeding up quite a lot of work. I'm a bit of a skeptic
Okay.
of like AI in terms of replacing people's creativity. So anything that's like a creative asset, we design in-house. We've got a brand executive in-house that designs all those for us. I make sure that I write all the copy. We don't use any like auto-generated copy from Google.
Nice.
But we do use AI for cutting out mundane tasks. So spotting, going through and doing negative keyword mining is not a good use of anybody's time, really.
No.
So we use it to spot any trends where keywords are coming up often in terms of not getting any conversions. We'll use it for quite a lot of the scripts for working out where we're spending money and analysing data quickly. Obviously, GA4 doesn't make it easy to analyse data quickly anymore.
Yeah.
So we take a lot of the data that we get and we turn it into AI agents and try and do that like data mining a bit more quickly than we probably could in the past. And then that frees time up to do whatever it is that needs doing in-house.
Yeah, absolutely. And being a skeptic, look, I feel like for me, you either get the people who are a bit gung-ho, use AI for everything, or the people who are literally like, nope, not going to use AI at all, unethical, never works, that kind of thing. And I feel like, either side is not helpful. I think AI is here. AI is going to be used. AI is going to, you're going to need to even understand how AI works to be able to even give some strategic advice to clients moving forward. But are there areas that you'll say specifically, like, guys, don't use AI in this area? AI does not know how to do it better than you.
Yeah, so any time where we want our brand tone to be demonstrated, if we're writing copy, if we're writing product descriptions, landing page copy, it needs to be written by a person. It needs to demonstrate the values that we have as a company.
Yeah.
It's difficult for an AI agent to go away and do that. We've got, like I said before, we've got a really strong brand across social media, across pretty much every area that we touch.
Yeah.
And I think that we'd lose some of that like brand integrity if we give some of that work to AI. So we always, anything where the brand is being trying to, like we're trying to put that brand across, it's a person that's doing it.
Yeah.
The copywriting, the image creation, all those types of things. It needs a bit of thought going into it.
Yeah.
They may use AI for like inspiration.
Sure.
They'll need to go away and make sure it sounds like quality bearers online speaking afterwards. Yeah.
I think that's a good, because that I was going to ask that. Isn't there a case for it being part of the process? Maybe, the inspiration bit, or sometimes I'd even say possibly even using it to smarten things up, especially like when it comes to writing, because I write for Search Engine Land, and sometimes I need it I'll give it like a dump of data and be like, okay, here's the thoughts and areas and everything I want to include. Make it flow nicely, kind of thing. Make it flow better, kind of thing. And then AI will give me like, okay, if you want to say this, and sometimes the thing I said first and fourth, it will put together because it'll be like, no, that flows, that should actually be brought together. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, actually, I prefer that order of writing. And it's pretty much said what I initially said, but just tightened it up, maybe used a little bit better grammar in some areas.
I think those types of areas, if you want to be a bit more concise or you want it to sound a bit more friendly, then giving it those prompts and putting some, you can give it really strong prompts for the brand. But we sometimes use it for that type of stuff. But the real like core message needs to be
person. Absolutely.
By a person.
No, absolutely. Totally agree with you. And that makes sense. For me personally as well, an area that I've seen that AI should not be used, and this is going a little bit off the path of PPC strategy, is just communications, like LinkedIn interaction. You saw that. I just seen that on my post recently, and using AI in our community, in the PPC Live WhatsApp group is such a vibrant community of a lot of the times, about 90% of the times, people giving their opinions, their ideas, asking questions, giving their answers, but every once in a while, and these are people that have been booted out, I will note to those who are thinking of joining the group. So we would just use AI as a response. They take the question and they respond with AI. And I'm like, what are you doing? And we've booted those people out.
Yeah, more and more now.
Yeah.
I've noticed after I've only been posting on LinkedIn for probably about 6 months. And I think I've got to that point now where I've attracted like AI people. And it's the same people every single time. They just put insightful or interesting or something.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, thanks. You're like, what am I supposed to do with that? I look at that and I'm very good. Oh, I almost want to delete it. But then you think to yourself, that'll take another band of work. So yeah, so no, but also always definitely got to mention that, yeah, PPC Live is definitely like a lovely community of people where most people take it seriously to actually give their opinions. We do have an event of that coming on February the 6th. So yeah, if you want to hear more of definitely seeing people in person talk and not just thinking if it's an AI person talk to you. Yeah. And you're in the UK and London, please come along to that. So anyway, going on to, talking about our industry and now shifting a little bit to Google and maybe even Microsoft and platforms and the different updates. Are there any particular things that frustrates you about how Google rolls out its updates? I know like you did mention like earlier on about the fact that they tend to create updates that benefit them more than actually the advertisers. Is that one of them? Is there more
Yeah,
that
something that's
frustrates?
frustrating from like an update perspective. I think Microsoft are obviously sometimes slow at communicating what they've done. Just don't communicate at all. But I don't know, from a Google perspective, the biggest frustration is that the ones that are in their favour are rolled out fast and quick and really hard, whereas the other ones that are a bit more advertiser friendly never seem to quite go far enough. And you tend to hear about them from somebody else's LinkedIn before you hear about them from Google themselves.
Yeah. So you hear, sorry, if you come back to that again, with Google updates, you don't hear about them as quickly?
I usually see it on somebody's LinkedIn, one of the news givers. There's quite a few news givers on PPC LinkedIn. So I'll normally see it on there before an email land in my inbox or anything like that about any update that's there. Obviously, with someone that's using these platforms every single day, it'd be nice to be kept in the loop from the people who's spending tens of thousands of pounds worth of money a month with.
Yeah, actually, and I know because we did have some questions prepared, and this might not be count as one of them, but I think this is a very important part to talk about Google support. Like, how's your Google support? How are the people you have? Do you have one person particular Google support, or is it just very much trying to get someone to hear about your issues?
The in-house stuff I've done, we've just got a new Google Ads rep, so we've got somebody now. I've been working here almost 18 months, I think. For the first 17 months, we had nobody that would support. So if we ever had any issues, it would be roundabouts and going through different people in Google support. Whereas now we've got an agent that looks after it for us, and he seems to be quite responsive. We've not had a big problem yet.
Okay.
But we've had a couple of small ones in terms of like merchant center issues, and he tells us quite quickly how to fix it. So I think if you've got an actual rep, they can be quite helpful. And he works in Google's headquarters at Ireland. Okay. So it's definitely a Google rep, not a sales agent.
Yes. There's been talk, and even like Boris Becker has written about how, Google have hired different agents that are actually different companies to be the Google salesperson. And that is.
Yeah, so we've been passed to like the growth team, or growth acceleration team. They've obviously seen some like growth that we could get from our accounts. So we're with those at the moment. So the support's a little bit faster, and he can accelerate that support for us.
Okay.
But like I say, we've not had anything major to send him yet. So it'd be interesting if we do, to see how that goes.
Interesting. Very interesting. And again, shifting gears a bit, now talking about more about what it's like being a PPC person working in a company what is the workload like? And do you feel you're left to do your PPC stuff, or do you feel like you need to be very much involved with the wider company?
So I've got quite a autonomous role, but the workload is quite manageable. But obviously, sometimes you'll have days where you just don't need to. Everything's working fine. I'm not a fan of touching stuff that's not broken.
Yeah.
So I get quite a lot of opportunity to work on outside of platform work. Quite a lot of stuff around like feed optimization. So I spend quite a lot of time outside platform in Shoptimize, working on our feed quite closely with our e-commerce manager on like conversion rate optimization stuff, trying to make sure that we're pushing. Obviously, every pound I spend, we need to get some money back for it. So if we can work together to go from 2% to 3% to 4% conversion rates, then it makes my results look better as well.
Yeah.
So I get the opportunity to spend quite a lot of time, not just in PPC.
Yeah.
I also get quite a lot of time to focus on my own development, reading stuff, reading questions in PPC Live, all those types of things, because it's still working. I'm still learning, and I'm still getting better at my job by participating in those discussions and stuff. So I think that's one of the best things about being client side. That sometimes you'll feel guilty when you spend a full week and you've not changed a single setting in Google Ads, but it gives you that time to work on other things outside platform, which I think with the way that AI is going on, the outside platform stuff is going to be the way that we can all demonstrate value moving forward.
Amazing.
But it doesn't work. How much workload I've got, it's probably less than when I were at an agency. I can spend time doing more impactful stuff, looking at overall strategy rather than responding to somebody's demands to lower ROAS targets.
Right.
Yeah.
You've given me a great idea for our PPC Live blog, talking about all the things that you could be doing in between those times of not changing anything. When you're sitting around going, okay, we've just set something live and we probably shouldn't touch it for a week. What do you do while you're waiting? That still counts as work. And I love that bit where you said that if I'm going to do any snippets for social media, it's with the snippet to tell people about how even being part of a community and being on a WhatsApp community and answering questions about PPC, that still counts as work. I love that. So anyone who's listening, if you're in a WhatsApp PPC group or on a Slack group or somewhere just chatting about your job, about PPC or you're still working, it still counts as work. So yes, that has been a very great chat. We're going to do some quick fire questions now just before we leave our fantastic listeners. So what's the one thing you want to leave people with, just in general, in terms of how they should approach the work, the PPC industry, especially when, it's client side?
I think for me, simplicity always beats complexity. If you've got a simple strategy and it works, don't build into it loads of complexity. Just stick to what works, and then it's easy to manage. Nice. So simple's usually better than a really complex, overthought out strategy.
Lovely. Advice you'd give to freelancers pitching to a client to take over the role. If someone were to come and pitch to a company, what's an advice that you'd give?
Just be open and be transparent. We don't want to, I think as a business, we don't want to see woolly stats. We don't want to see that ROAS is this and then you've blended branded traffic into there or anything like that. We want to see what you give in terms of direct bottom line business value. So how can you move that profit forward, the revenue forward, not just overinflate PPC stats, really.
Lovely. Amazing. I was on a podcast recently and I myself said that when you're working for a client, you have to think that you're trying to improve the client's business, not just about increasing PPC spend and making sure PPC grows. If it makes sense to grow for the business, yes, do suggest that. If it doesn't make sense for the PPC to increase, don't suggest that. I think there's a lot of integrity that is caked into that. Okay. Our next one. What's your favorite agency story to tell? Do you have a favorite agency story?
Yeah, I don't have many because I didn't work there for too long, but we used to work with Aviation Gin, Ryan Reynolds Gin Company.
Oh my God.
It was like the easiest social campaign ever. Just get videos of Ryan Reynolds being funny.
Right.
And literally everybody engages when Ryan Reynolds on it. I have no idea why they paid a marketing company.
Right.
Just, if I could have Ryan Reynolds in front of Bearings for my one, would be absolutely flying. just the easiest ever job that you could ever wish to get in. Just put videos up of Ryan Reynolds, pictures of Ryan Reynolds shrinking gin.
Oh no!
And everyone loves it.
Did you ever meet him, or was it just very much a?
No, so he
Oh,
sold it to a drinks company, but
sure.
they managed to keep his naming rights and
Sure.
all the branding stuff that he'd done. So there were just so many assets that they created for us already that we could just dump in Facebook and let fly.
Absolutely. Oh, I could talk about that campaign with Ryan Reynolds forever, but we don't have forever. City. Glenn Curtin is a favorite actor of mine, so yeah. Anyway, so I'll be calm right now, hardly. So, what's the best advice that you have been given?
I think from an e-commerce perspective, that just everything works together. If you put in a really great PPC strategy and campaign together, it's not going to fix a leaking conversion funnel. It's not going to fix your bad pricing or your bad product. It's just going to exacerbate those problems. So just to work closely with those other departments, if you can fix some of those conversion issues, just make sure that everything's working together, really. Organic, SEO, email, all those different channels for traffic, they all support each other.
Yeah.
And just work closely with each other, really.
Oh, amazing. And another thing that's more of a lateral thinking, I feel this is something I've come across with loads of paid search professionals, but not necessarily all. Do you feel that you suffer from imposter syndrome? And if you do, what's a moment that you can talk about and how did you overcome it?
I don't think it ever really goes away. Obviously, I've done it for 15 years. I'm quite experienced. There's not many problems that I've not fixed, but I still get imposter syndrome. There's a couple of occasions I can probably, almost every time I post anything on LinkedIn, I'm like, why does anybody care about this?
Yeah.
Or if I'm putting something about a feed attribute onto LinkedIn, I just presume everybody already knows it, but sometimes people will say, oh, I found this really helpful. And that kind of makes it go away. But almost every time I put something out there, you're speaking to people that already know quite a lot. So you get a little bit of imposter syndrome. But then I think a big time when I first came back in-house to where I work now, they were using a fairly big agency that used AI and standard shopping on every single campaign. So it moved things around in terms of buyer intent with the searches, and it was trying to, and I pretty much promised to beat the results that we were getting with the old agency. So coming back in and one person against all those computers and machines that were doing all that work before, I think they had 300 odd campaigns, thousands of ad groups. And I said, we'll strip it back. We'll have 2 or 3 campaigns and it'll do more. But then the first day when I paused all those ad campaigns and set mine live, I was like, this needs to work.
Yeah. Yes.
Do I really know what I'm doing?
Right.
That type of thing. So I think that was a really big moment where I thought, actually.
But what helps for you to just keeps you pushing past those thoughts?
The success that comes off the back of it. I think the LinkedIn side of things, I think if you keep doing it, it gets less awkward every time.
Yeah.
It always feels cringe every time I press send or post on LinkedIn. But then people will start to comment and make you validate your own thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think being active on PPC Live, where people are thanking you or asking you to do some work for them, actually makes you think, do I know what I'm doing?
Yes. Nice. Amazing. I feel imposter syndrome for me also helps keep me humble. Because every once in a while, the imposter syndrome will be there and I'll be like, no, but I can do it. And then maybe sometimes I get a bit cocky, and especially when we're at LinkedIn and I'm like, oh, I'm going to put this fantastic post. It's going to go viral. It's so good. And I'll put it out there. And then a day after, it only got 8 likes. And I'm like, okay, I'm useless again. Keeps me the whole LinkedIn as well. Once you lose your imposter syndrome, it's dangerous. I actually think it's a nice way to keep thinking that, look, you need to keep working at the craft. It's not that you're bad at it. You just need to keep trying to work hard at it. And I think for me, it's almost like as the way they say with fear, stare it in the face and do it anyway. Recognize it and just get through it.
Yeah, Boris mentioned something yesterday. I think he said when imposter syndrome goes away, that's when you'll probably start declining.
Yeah.
I think he said something, that's probably paraphrasing what he said.
Yeah.
But he said something along those lines. If it ever goes away, you think you've cracked it and then you probably stop learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
It's not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing. If you suffer from imposter syndrome, it probably means you're doing something right. It probably means that you're going out of your comfort zone. It probably means you're learning something new, which is always a good thing. It's always a good thing to be learning something new.
Yep.
And on that note, thank you so much, Matt. That went by so quickly. I'm really grateful for all the fantastic insights that you've given us there. But before we say goodbye to our listeners, where can people find you if they really want to follow more of your exciting insights that you share?
Yes, I'm Matt Beswick on LinkedIn. There's 2 Matt Beswicks, so make sure you find me.
Correct.
But yeah, on LinkedIn, sharing stuff about shopping, e-commerce, PPC.
So yeah, that's it for this episode. I hope you've had some great takeaways from that episode, from that great chat with Matt about PMAX, about dealing with clients, dealing with agencies, and just knowing how to navigate your way in our world of AI and paid search. For any feedback about the podcast or any even corrections or anything that you want to share or any thoughts you want to share on based on what Matt has shared, please get in touch with me on Twitter. My DMs are open at the handle The Marketing Annual or on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to Matt himself as well on LinkedIn. It'll also be great for any long-standing and brand new listeners to give the podcast a review. It will really help with our growth strategy of the podcast. You can do that on Spotify by leaving a rating or even leaving a review on Apple, Podchaser, and more if you just go to linktree.com/ppcchat_roundup. And to speak with the likes of Matt and all the people that he helps and that helps him in our PPC Live community, we'd love to have you at our next PPC Live event on February the 6th, which will be at 5:30 p.m. in London at the Brass Monkey. It's a really lovely little pub that will have food and drinks to really just welcome into our new month because, January has gone on long enough, hasn't it? So yeah, that would be great. If you just go to ppc.live for tickets, you'll be able to get all the details for that and get your tickets for the next event. And it's tickets for only £49, but we're also doing a sale for group tickets. So if there's more than 3 of you that wants to come, we've got a discount for you. So yeah, reach out to us for that. Finally, remember, for your campaigns and businesses to glide smoothly, there's a lot of hard work needed beneath the surface. So keep your swans kicking. Bye. And yeah, thank you, Matt, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.